Greetings and welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst Ofs, the finest, the best of worst of lists to be found anywhere in the entire diaspora of Top 10 Worst Ofs. The number one, often imitated, never replicated. I'll be your host for today's endeavor. My name is Pat E. Hurst, and what an exciting time it is in my life to have a list this profound, to provide an opportunity for such a fulfilling entertainment and educational experience for each and every one of us. I totally swear, like for reals. And it's the top 10 worst things they'll be able to get rid of once the ruling class replaces the human race with the AI robots. Now, I talk a lot about the AI robot, impending usurpations of the AI robots into the roles traditionally associated with human beings, which is to serve as the host animal for the ruling elite parasites who, they roll us in, they have us do all the work, and they just sit there sucking us dry, sucking out the poisons so that we can do all the work that's necessary for them to have unrivaled luxury items and a plethora of gilded cages to dwell upon so they don't have to futz around with the hoi polloi, the great unwashed. And so, now they get the AI robots to take care of them. We'll be able to, all the rest of us masses will be able to live, lives of great luxury and repose with our own, panoply of luxury items and indulgences for ourselves. Finally, we're finally going to get payback. They invented the washing machine, right? It used to take people a month and a half to wash one shirt, beating it on a rock until they died by the age of 31. And then they invented the washing machine, and then we got, the people shared in the benefit of the washing machine, that month and a half that it used to take to beat a shirt on a rock to clean it, that whole month and a half's worth of work. We got it all back in dividends and cash and shared economic mobility, so that we could take every time we wash a shirt, we could take a month and a half off and just chill out and read a book and travel and go on a spaziergang. But no. The AI robots are going to come in and just they're going to give us all the universal basic incomes and stuff, and everything will be fine. And we'll be able to live off of we'll sponge off we'll be the parasites for a change off the AI robots. And then won't, the ruling elite won't care that we just sit around and do nothing for all of our lives and just kind of pick our noses and pick our feet in Poughkeepsie. They won't care. Just be like, oh, you earned it. That's what the ruling elite will be. Don't worry, we'll process 8 billion monthly universal basic income checks to all yes. We're going to put them in a giant mailbox that's going to look a lot like a gas chamber. But don't you fear. Just go in and go get your check over there in that totally unconvincing replica of a gas chamber and get your universal basic income checks. Zyklon B. Yeah, enjoy yourself in that old. Totally has no resemblance whatsoever to gas chambers. And, I get it. First of all, before we get into all this stuff, I got to pause for just a second because I've received some very, very bad news, I'm afraid. Wait a minute. God damn it. Stupid pieces of garbage. I hate you so much. It's very bad news. It's a very difficult time for me. Here, top 10 worst devs. I received the news today. I read the article. M&M's, the venerable taste sensation, chocolatey, treaty talks, have now given up food coloring. And that means that many of the colors of the variety, the rainbow of colors for M&M's that we've come to know and love and it's become so emotionally attached to over the years, the decades, will be gone forever, thanks to RFK Jr. God damn it, RFK Jr. Why'd you have to start with the least of the deleterious, unhealthful foods? You go for red dye number 2. Oh yeah, well let's put down a list. Let's see. Okay, Teflon seeping into foodstuffs, causing poison, all kinds of different. We got toxic mercury. That there's so much mercury in fish that pregnant women can't even eat it. You can put that down. Okay, well we got poisons from industrial hog farming seeping into the water table and causing all kinds of deleterious effects and sicknesses and illnesses. We've got, now we're up to about 1 product recall a day because, they've reduced the USDA staff and all that kind of stuff. So you got rid of all that. So, there's a press release just about every day from having to recall a bunch of products because they're, wiping out people or they don't have the right allergens listed on their ingredients lists. So, don't start with any of that big stuff. Let's start with red dye number 2. I, in protest for the deletion of my beloved M&M's colored tidbits, chocolate tidbits. And I'm getting to the worst part soon. I'm just warming up here. I'm going to have a hunger strike where I eat nothing but red dye number 2, and see how long it takes. I can almost 100% guarantee that I will survive for probably another 150 years. I bet you red dye number 2 is the fountain of youth. Red dye number 2 has things that will expunge all kinds of illnesses from the human torsos and giblets. And they're just intentionally keeping from us. The way these guys operate, anything that they say is bad has got to be good. Anything they say is good has got to be bad. Is it really like a shock to your system to even imagine that what they do for us is intentionally bad? Why do people think that failings of government are their inability to be able to get out of their own way, or their inability to be able to do, difficult jobs, or the amount of partisanship is getting in the way of governments being able to be productive? They do plenty of stuff to benefit the ultra-rich ruling elite. They get all that done with laser-like precision. When it comes to doing anything for anybody else, we couldn't get to it before our Christmas recess. You dummies. You dumb. Very dumb and also nasty looking. I get it. You don't want to be a part of it. You just want to, get back to your binge watching 5 hours on average a day of TV. I get it. Don't be bothered. Just make sure you get rid of the pernicious red dye number 2. We got video games teaching people to be totally insensitive to death. You got movies that are made where it's basically more or less like a recruitment device for violence and the volunteer army and drug dealing for the CIA and all kinds of different things. Heterosexual monogamous coupling. We're getting people in a bunch of trouble telling them that marriage is a good thing. How could marriage possibly be a good thing? Because it's 50% of marriages end in divorce. When people lose, on average, probably about a third off the top that the lawyers take during the divorce proceedings. And then on top of it, you have like a bunch of families that are being torn to shreds by this stupid thing. When are we going to start admitting to ourselves that marriage is freaking evil? And that everything is evil. Everything that they advocate, everything that they sneak in, sort of stealthily, plot line wise in movies and TV. Why do you think every goddamn sitcom has a Halloween special and a Christmas special every freaking year? It's because that they're required to probably do that by contract, because they're helping pave the way for us to embrace things that are negative and destructive to us. Man, it smells so dumb in here. Anyway, back to the M&Ms. and then they said the article one of the colors that they're going to eliminate is brown. Brown M&Ms. Look, I don't care that, a big fatty like me is obviously going to be pissed off about any food option that's being taken away or eliminated. But let's be realistic. The brown M&M is more than just about taking away a snack treat. Brown M&Ms are going away forever. And brown M&Ms have the rich history, cultural applications, because one of the biggest reveals of the snottiness of pampered hairbands is the infamous brown M&M scandal from the writer of the contract of one Van Halen band. Now, they tried to gloss over it by saying, no, we weren't a bunch of divas. We were actually trying to test them to see if they were paying attention to our contract writer. Well, no. You were really a bunch of divas. They're saying, we require contractually that all brown M&Ms be removed from our backstage M&M stockpile. And now brown M&Ms won't even exist. It's tough enough out here trying to get all these foam domes to even pay attention to their history at all whatsoever, and what brought us to the breaking point of the human race, the expiration of the human race, and all that kind of stuff. Brown M&Ms is a big part of our cultural heritage. It's when we learned that how detached all these famous people become. And how they think that they're holier than thou, that they can have a big ask, weird ask, whatever you want to call it, and say, well, yes, we need to have 14 pounds of M&Ms backstage available to us, but you have to pull out all the brown ones. I don't care if they were testing people to see if they were paying attention to the contract writer, but somewhere, somebody had to pull out brown M&Ms from 14 pounds or whatever the hell it was of M&Ms. They had to live through that. What are they going to do with them? First of all, are they going to just throw away the brown M&Ms? Are they going to give it to somebody? Certainly, if you got 14 pounds of M&Ms, I think there are 5 different flavors or something like that. So that means, 20% or somewhere thereabouts is going to be brown if, there's any true justice in the world. So you're taking out 20% of 1/5 of 14 pounds, whatever that is. You're taking it out? What, tossing them away? There's no way that somebody who's separating them out is going to eat 2 pounds or whatever the hell it is. Oh, god damn! Of frickin' M&Ms by themselves. They're sitting there going, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know, what, 5 hours for somebody to do that? You know, I don't know, we're not divas. Anyway, I'm really sad. This is a sad time for me. The death of the brown M&M has really hit your illustrious hosts right in the core. Where's my core? It keeps floating around. It's not as... doesn't respond to my directives auspiciously as it once did. My freaking core, man. My core. Mike Hoare. Oh, that's a good one for the fake names list. Hi, I'm Mike. Mike Core. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst Ofs. The only source for worst ofs that's been named for a Drama Desk Award nomination. So top 10 worst things they'll be able to get rid of once they're blah, blah, blah. Before getting into that, I think you'll probably be able to figure this out for yourself. I should mention, but I do want to mention it, that the elements within today's list are, of course, opinions, my opinions, and other opinions that I've stolen from other people, much with blogs, if you can believe it or not, that have less views than this one. Or steal their thoughts. I'm stealing your thoughts right now. Oh, yeah. Your thoughts are stolen. Have a blessed day. And I'm not partisan. So just to let you know, all you are looking to try to, objectify me. Like, look at this guy. This guy that's Woodstock dropout nobody. He must be a lefty. I'll turn the channel and see if I can find any Daily Wires or reruns of audiovisual documentations of Rush Limbaugh's. Rush Limbaugh's. Come back, Rush. 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 What the hell am I doing over here? It's supposed to be a clicker. Like for listening to a YouTube. Whatever. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Rush freaking Limbaugh. I'd like to separate him out from the brown M&Ms. What else we got here? I think that's it. I'm not even going to do the list. I'm spent. It's been 18 minutes of just gobbledygook. See, this brown M&M thing's really getting to me. God damn it. Scumbag. Pure nobody. Unadulterated, unfiltered nobodies. That's what we're stuck with here. They gave the trillionaires tax cuts that cost us a $41 trillion deficit that we owe on the tax cuts that we gave to the billionaires, that we still owe another 41 trillion to, because the billionaires hold all the paper on the loans that we took out to finance the tax cuts for the billionaires. That's right. We pay to give them their tax cuts. We pay $1 trillion worth of interest every year, and we still, at the end of all that, owe them another 41 trillion. And we got nothing to show for it. Nothing for that money. Nothing. A bunch of morons, functional morons. Life support systems for a hairdo is what the U.S. The only thing that people are like so upset. Oh, the U.S. doesn't manufacture anything anymore. So unproductive. So productive. Don't worry about it. The sweatshops will be back here any minute now. But no, we're the leading global producer, leader of producing a-holes. Or b-holes, depending on what you prefer. Or donut holes, which is what I prefer. All right, so top 10 list. It's going to be something wild. Stick around, but before we get to that, we have to You know, send a little props over to our commercial sponsors. Now available in your local grocer's underwear drawer. It's the new Fox News Channel home game. Now you yourself at home can create propaganda disguised as news and utilize the big lie concept, to get out to the non-believers and create a fountain of hatred and misinformation to keep the herd mollified. Your Roger Ailes and Karl Rove has just turned over the blockbuster video of Obama in college that Andrew Breitbart guaranteed would blow a hole right through the back of Obama's re-election campaign's head. But the tape's a dud. Should you cut to one of the many GOP presidential candidates that you keep on staff year-round for a rapid topic segue into health insurance death panels? Or should you bring the circus freak that shoots the BBs out of their pee hole? Oh, you rolled snake eyes. That means your top British correspondents just got caught systematically bribing a bunch of policemen to turn the other way while they hacked into their cell phones of private citizens, even after they bought off Hugh Grant. You've got to go testify before Parliament and lose a turn. The laughs and lies never cease with the new Fox News Channel home game. Can you dig it? And coming soon, it's a sack of grapefruits. We're part sponsored by a sack of grapefruits is ready for your multifarious usage and enjoyment. Manufacturing evidence against the perceived enemies of the aristocracy. Coming soon to the Learning Channel. Body scanning children, multi-platform data mining, sociological and behavioral mass assimilation techniques, mega invasive job screening, scaring the S word out of people, COINTELPRO, street camera installation and repair and interpretive dance, job placement and student loans available. So what are you waiting for? Soon your only other choice will be working for Walmart or joining the infantry. But now, for a limited time only, get your first rim job at 10% off when you try Gigolos. Jellos made from cow hooves? Jesus Christ. A new Steve Top stuffing. Stuffing designed for guys named Steve to put on top of other guys named Steve. It's Steve Top stuffing. Got to top off your Steves with something, right? Whatever. I so want to. I'm so burnt out right now. It's 2 nights in a row that I've done, I don't know, at least 5 hours worth of these things. Please, God, make it stop. Top 10 worst things they'll be able to get rid of once the ruling class replaces the human race with AI robots. Number 10, global warming. Huh? Just sit right back and you hear a tale of a fateful trip. Because we got, yes, for 80 years we've seen the military in action. They've had the atomic bomb available to them, but they've somehow managed to keep a lid on things to the point where they're not actually blowing up the world. I believe that this is a true sign that while the military loves to see good people suffer and loves to be able to expunge off of the taxpayer for trillions and trillions of dollars to build these toys that they, who knows what for, and they just love that stuff. And they're in the business of murdering people. So, kind of hard to feel, a warm and fuzzy attachment to those types of things. But what we do know is that they're not suicidal. Because if they were suicidal, they would have dropped the bomb and just started a big nuclear holocaust a long, long time ago. But since, for 80 years they've been able to keep a lid on that stuff, you got to figure that they want to, I want to live. But they're not going to do it because they're seeing the growth of another possible exterminating, life-threatening event in the form of climate change. And we're close to trillions of dollars worth of damage, billions of lives lost in all the coastal areas and everything like that. And yet, not only are they not doing anything about it, but they're discouraging people from using any form of intelligence whatsoever, saying that knowledge is bad. Knowledge is bad. It's bad for you. It does bad things. Knowledge is bad. Sure it is. We all know that. The only thing knowledge leads to is being persecuted by your, becoming a social outcast in a variety of different situations and the thing with the contexts. There you go. But they haven't done anything about trying to fix climate change. Why? Well, number one is because, they don't have a non-combustion engine that can power an F-16. So they can't get away from it at all. They can't replace it. It's trying to build up enough of a sort of macroeconomic system that will support the transition away from the combustion engine as the power apparatus behind all these death machines. But they just haven't been able to get there. So, what they have to do is just wait a few more years. The AI robots will be ready and they'll exterminate the human race. And that, then you don't have to worry about global warming at all. It's that simple. Just like you. Simple. Number 9. Be able to get rid of what's the ruling class, replace the human race with AI robots. The military. Now, the military, I think, serves a role. I think it's really beguiling, but fun to think about, talk about, and just see how much fun you're going to have in the next few minutes while I extrapolate, enunciate. So was elaborate. That's the word I was looking for. So look, it's like this. Yes, the military is fun for all these microphallus, frustrated, waspy nobodies to occupy their time and have all, lots of opportunities to kill people of color and all the different types of little side benefits of having a big, butch military to ward off your enemies and traipse around like you're, like cock of the walk. But I think that the military, it goes back to some historical perspective. So I know I can almost sense your eyes glazing over with more and more stupidness somehow. But here's the thing. So the World War II had to happen because of the global depression, and these capitalists, these robber barons, couldn't figure out a way around it. And then they watched over in Russia and saw that the Romanov family got, their ass handed to them and chopped up into little bits and pieces, and they were not pleased. And, more than just the whole idea of communism, which threatened their massive greed, even going back into the early 1900s. And they're sort of thinking to themselves, what if they come for us? What if they give us the Romanov treatment? And remember that, once the global depression hit, there were very, very few people who had a lot of money in the world. They had the Windsor family, which had just changed their name, I think, from Saxe-Coburg. They changed it to Windsor family right around World War I because it sounded too frickin' German, because they were German. And so they're fighting a war against, I think it's like they were brothers or something like that, the heads of the Windsors and the Habsburgs and I think they were all related, really close relations too. So they're just playing little games, like little chess pieces, like having a little spaz attack, of greedy, petulant little sick-minded infants running around and exterminating millions of people, having to suffer on levels that it's unimaginable for the average schmuck to even think about. And they get this I mean, but they're like, like seriously concerned because they can't turn off World War One either. So they need to find a way to be able to avoid the Great Depression that happened after World War One. They need to be able to avoid any more communist revolutions before the rest of these, robber barons and whatnot get their heads chopped off too. And they also, just so happen to want to get rid of a few Jews. And by a few Jews, I mean all Jews. And so they get, together and they have their little, fancy little tete-a-tete. And they're thinking, like, they're talking, it's like, well, how do we do all these things at once? And they're like, well, we could do like a new confederacy. And they're like, well, go on. And they're like, well, you just sort of like tweak it, take it to another level and have it, say, be like an Aryan white power nation, And they're like, yes, now we're talking. And they're like, well, we could use all the, we could have another world war. People are already sort of like, kind of used to that type of stuff now. And so let's have another world war. We'll use all the military spending for all that stuff as a economic stimulus package to help us permanently and finally get out of this economic depression that threatens to spill over into all kinds of communist revolutions any minute now. And they're like, well, and while we're doing that, we'll get rid of the commies, of course. So we'll make the focus of our Aryan nation be something in sort of maybe Central Europe, continental Europe, and we can just have them use that as a smokescreen to go into Russia and get rid of all those commies out there. And since they're going to be going through Eastern Europe and whatnot, we could have them, exterminate the Jews. And everybody's like, yes, yeah. And so like, oh, yeah. All in favor say aye, and everybody said aye, and that was the end of the meeting. So they got, Alfred P. Sloan, and they got Henry Ford, and they got the Harriman family, and the Windsor family, and all of the global elites, the Krupp family, and that's how Nazi Germany was born. And so they get this thing where they're going like, okay, well, as the war is ending, and they see that Hitler wasn't really going to do it, they're like, well, probably should have done this in the first place. Let's just put in some turncoats into high-level positions in the American government and have them overthrow the country secretly through a fifth column operative or two, and do a little smash and grab on the U.S. democracy. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Conspicuous silence. I don't think they're going to really do this, are we? Yes, and they did, and within a few years, they overthrew the United States government, turned it into a shadow Nazi empire. When with the election of Albert G. Eisenhower or whatever his name was, and Richard Nixon, and between the two of them, and Allen Dulles and all these other Prescott Bushes and all these people who were, pretty much overtly as evil, if not more evil, than the Nazis. And then they import a lot of, original Nazi Party members into the United States under Operation Paperclip, and put them into high-level executive positions like Werner von Braun is the head of the freaking NASA program and stuff like that. And he's doing movies with his pal Walt Disney over there. Walt Disney doing Man in Space and stuff like that. Let's throw it over to Werner von Braun. Werner, what do you think about rockets? We had back in the day, we had the V2 rocket. We were able to launch them. Let me show you the clip. And then they show a clip of them launching actual V2 rockets, which went on to go and destroy, thousands of people, incinerated thousands of people in London. And Werner goes, then we were trying to exterminate the Jews. Oops, I'm sorry, my Lord Emperor. We're talking about, we were trying to perfect rocket launching technology without any alternative uses for Jewish exterminations. And so they got all that stuff. But I think what happened was with World War II, as it closed, they were going to, have their Aryan ambitions satisfied by overthrowing the United States. And they wouldn't have to worry about the United States destroying their efforts to have an Aryan nation like they did with the Confederacy and Nazi Germany. And they modeled a lot of the elements of National Socialism now became, worked their way somehow, incredibly, into the United States design of their macroeconomy. The building of the interstate highway system being preeminent amongst all of them, because you got to have like a very really heavy automobile industry in order to be able to really conduct your macroeconomy in the form of the super productive form of building all the main enterprises around the needs of the military. But I think more essentially, and this is all low hanging fruit stuff. If you're not keeping up with this stuff, you're in serious trouble. You need a series of things. I would recommend an adjustment to your meds as the highest priority, and then to read a book. Maybe, I don't know. Is it too much to ask? Turn off the TV for maybe the next 10 to 15 years of your life, and go out and become an actual the freedom of the members of a society is eternal. The eternal cost of freedom is self-sacrifice, and nobody's willing to pay it. So just enjoy your life in a crypto-fascist society as much as you can until they send you off in a cattle car to some death camps. And just, shut up and take it. Jesus Christ, nobody wants to hear a little whiny little victim of crypto-fascism. Nothing anybody hates worse than going to a party and some guy's whining about the impact of crypto. It's just sent off my family in a cattle car out to some South American S-hole. Hey, I laugh at you. I laugh at you because of the suffering. And so, but they have to, that's why they have $1 trillion a year that they plow into the military. It has nothing to do with anything besides providing enough economic stimulus in the world to prevent there from being another global depression. Because if you're spending $1 trillion a year in the United States military, that means that it's going to be, there's just going to be too much economic activity to ever fall that low again. It's just going to be too much stimulus. It won't be, the economy won't be able to, they'll have downturns of recessions, stuff like that, but you'll provide more stimulus on top of it to avoid it from becoming what it became back in the 20s, late 30s. But, all of a sudden it's 1933 and the global economy is in free fall. Nobody has any money anywhere. And all of a sudden, Nazi Germany shows up and starts getting all these investments. They go from 30% unemployment to 0% unemployment in less than 2 years. They go from zero military prevented by the terms of the Treaty of Versailles to the most advanced military, technological military in the world at the time. Within a couple of years, they're already fighting in Spain. They're volunteering to help Franco and his fascist forces overthrow the duly elected government of Spain. So the United States becomes a clandestine fascist dictatorship, and then all of a sudden you see all the tenets of National Socialism are showing up in our economy. And then lefties are getting purged left and right, whether it's the House Un-American Activities Committee or the payola scandal thing that the governments themselves were doing, and McCarthyism and all that kind of stuff, or, some of the things that you see the corporations taking care of in the name of the government, of this third-party outsourced propaganda ministry that we lovingly refer to as the mainstream media. Well, here's, Edward R. Murrow, who's going after McCarthyism and playing a big role in the end of McCarthyism, that and the Army and McCarthy hearings and a couple other things that were going on at the time. But Edward R. Murrow got a lot of the credit. And what happened to Edward R. Murrow after he, quote unquote, vanquished McCarthyism? He lost his gig, man. His sponsor was Alcoa, which is the aluminum company, was one of the main defense contractors at the time. Well, when, back in those days, the most shows were sponsored primarily by one big sponsor. And it was their money that enabled those shows to continue on. Well, Alcoa pulled out of Edward R. Murrow's show, and he lost the show, and it was canceled. And it became, like not a penniless drunk, but he never had another show again. There was a relevant factor in the American culture experience. McCarthyism, all he did with McCarthyism was drive it underground, where they did a lot more damage. But that you start seeing all of that, starting up in 1953, when Eisenhower gets inaugurated. And then on the way out the door, Eisenhower admits it. He's like, look, we're a military-industrial complex now. There's nothing you have to live with making sacrifices because communism was too tough for us to be able to whoop. And, there it is. That's the end of it. And that's what the military is. They'll be able to get rid of it because they won't need those economic stimuluses anymore because human beings won't be around anymore. They won't need to care about any possibility of there being another Great Depression because human beings won't be around to overthrow Russia and turn it into a communist revolution or spread the communist revolution anywhere else in the world. So the robber barons are safe and the capitalists are safe. They won't have to worry about losing all their money or their heads. Various different appendages, getting throat slits and hung upside down to bleed out like Mussolini and his family. They won't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. So they won't have to worry about having the gigantic economic stimulus that military spending exists for. And they were like, well, if we need to do $1 trillion worth of spending, how are we going to justify that? Well, we'll just call it, throw it into the military. People will buy it. They create a bunch of enemies on the world stage, which includes, of course, the Soviet Union, which is the big boogeyman. And then you got various other minor league boogeymen, which I personally believe include Iran, because they can't run out of boogeymen for their system of lies. And it's weird, because the economic stimulus that the military brings, you think that they could talk about that openly. Look, there are a lot of military threats in the world, not really perhaps as many as we might, want. But, we're going to take $1 trillion worth of money off you every year and spend it on the military so that there's no more Great Depressions. I mean, people, if they would have gotten to it earlier, or there's some people around who experienced the Great Depression, I don't know that they would have had, a lot of trouble selling that agenda and being honest and open about it. But now nobody remembers what any of that stuff, any of those hardships were really like. And so they're all jaded and everything like that. And, I want my $7,000 iPhone that's made in sweatshops and killing slaves and stuff like that. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. Screw you guys. Screw you, buddy. Top 10 worst things that they'll be able to get rid of once the ruling class replaces the human race with AI robots. Number 8, restrictions on space travel. Keep in mind, all the AI robots, they don't need air, they don't need food, they don't need accommodation, they don't need heat. They don't really, maybe a little bit of heat to keep them functioning. They might need a little can of WD-40, and that's about it. And you can send them to frickin' Mars, Jupiter. Probably at some point soon, send them to the sun, like the surface of the sun. And Elon Musk will be like, oh, yes, we have conquered space. Space fascism. And, let's be honest. Nobody wants to see an unhappy Elon Musk. You want to keep that guy. Everybody's sending out this and calling Donald Trump taco. Do you think that calling Donald Trump taco all over the place and everything like that had anything to do with his going to war against Iran? Maybe you should stop and think about, the Sun Tzu Art of War or whatever the hell it is that you need to start learning, because you start calling a madman taco all over the place. How do you think he's going to react to it, you dummies? Just, if you would have just sat there and just wrote out the whole thing, you probably wouldn't have had to worry about the Iran war and the closing of Hormuz and $2 extra per gallon of gas or whatever the hell you stupid asses are paying for the stupid ass bulldink that you insist. Oh, I owned taco, didn't I? Look at that meme that I shared on my gram, on my IG feed. I'm owning taco. I own taco. Take that, taco. What a dummy. Bunch of dummies. One after another. God, you're dumb. I'm so tired of suffering because of you dummies. But yet, still, on the other side of the coin, I'm happy that the rest of you dummies are suffering too. Maybe you'll finally learn something. A lot of good things come out of oppression. Impressions. Here's my impression of Inspector Clouseau. Steve Martin as Inspector Clouseau in the most recent reboot of Pink Panther. Good one. There we go. Thank you. You're too kind. Hate you. All right, so anyway, some of the other things you get rid of. So you're going to have like space robots and stuff. That's what we've wanted. I mean, other flying cars, you're not going to get the flying cars. Okay? But you will get space robots. Evil space robots killing innocent humans to build our rockets. The slave race will build our rockets. 50 million slaves working themselves to death like good Americans should, and building our space rockets for the glory of the AI robot race. Number 7, the top 10 worst list, blah, blah, blah. Them pesky trade unions. Yes, get rid of those frickin' things. Fighting for equal pay, equal rights, and OSHA. Such a great job. Did everything they look at all that effort they spent, all those lives that have been not only put in danger but actually sacrificed in many cases, and they wind up with what do they have to show for it? $7 an hour minimum wage in place for, I don't know, what, 25, 30 years now? You get the least accommodating pay time off. You get the Family Medical Leave Act thanks to Bill and Hillary. Thank you, Bill and Hillary. May I have another? Which is the only industrialized country that doesn't have paid time off. And they give you, what do they give you here? They give you a couple of months where you can recover from some major life-threatening illness. And then you got to come back and, grab your job after 2-3 months or whatever it is, of not having earned a penny and just suffering and rolling around in your own filth. Like a hog, or who else runs around in their own filth? GOP lobbyist. So get rid of the freaking trade unions already. What is it? They get a few extra rights for people, take a couple extra bucks for their trouble, and that's the end of it. Not doing much. Not helping. We're not helping. They got bamboozled, they got tricked, they got played, they got paid off, and then they walked away with, their house in order, but all the rest of us who counted on them, screw job. It's a Montreal screw job all over again. Poor Bret Hart, the Montreal screw job. What a shame that was. Harshing my mellow right here. Number 6 of the top 10 worst things I'll be able to get rid of once the ruling class replaces the human race with AI robots. Baseball. Oh, thank God. Finally get rid of America's pastime. What a pile of... Do I have a schmutz? Did I have schmutz there the whole time? Get rid of baseball right now. Let's just do it. Let's get rid of it. Get rid of organized sports completely. It gives people some, impoverished people an opportunity, a way of some form of economic mobility. But it's just, we don't have the time for it anymore. Pastimes, everything like that. At the very least, get sports off of news broadcasts. Why don't we spend 6 minutes or whatever it is on a newscast that only has 30 full minutes to begin with after you take out the amount for commercials and the opening credit sequence and stuff like that. You probably have about 19 minutes worth of actual news and reporting or program within the local news and everything like that. And then, on top of it, you take another 4 to 6 minutes away for reporting on sports. What? Sports is not news. Sports is entertainment. Get out of here, yeah, you lazy. Yeah, you're such a disgrace to your and baseball out of all of them is just so incredibly disturbing. People sit around here we are sitting around watching a bunch of people do things and eating footlong hot dogs like they were popcorn. Football also pretty bad, only because so many of them die. The average life expectancy of a football player is 23 now. With all the CTs, I get CTs. That's a imitation of Brian Urlacher, ladies and gentlemen. Brian Urlacher. Number 5, the top 10 was AI robots. Insurance. Some people get rid of the entire insurance agency. Nobody would give a rat's ass about it anymore. No reason to have an insurance agency if you don't have any people to insure, no people ever getting injured, or anything like that. I mean, you might be able to, might need to have some sort of insurance about, like product, like more like a warranty, I think, type of thing than an actual, straight up insurance as we've come to know and love it. It's funny talking about the end of insurance and not really being able to experience any of the joy that might represent. I mean, we're pretty close to losing insurance anyway, because of, climate change is causing so many environmental disasters they can't even keep up. Number 4 of the top 10 worst things to be able to get rid of once the ruling class replaces the human race with AI robots. Propaganda disguised as entertainment and news. I've explained this to many of you mouth breathers out there before. There are 2 plots to every movie or television show. One plot is the internal plot that has the character arcs and everything like that, and the story arc completed within, somewhere 20 minutes if it's a sitcom, 40 minutes if it's a drama, and an hour and 30 minutes if it's a movie. All, neatly configured and packed in there. Guy gets girl, guy loses girl, guy contracts syphilis, guy invents a cure for polio, guy has a rematch with his dreaded rival and wins and gets the girl back, and guy and girl experience monogamous heterosexual coupling in the form of marriage, which eventually winds up with them getting divorced and losing a third of everything that they own to the lawyers. And their kids are just all tore up inside. They never see them again. It's just damaged goods for the rest of their lives. And then they just pay it forward with the damages that they get from all the divorces. They just take it out on everybody that they come into contact with. So that's the number 1 plot in the movie. It's the storytelling aspect of it. And the second plot is the real life consequences of what they're doing within the content of the creation that they've worked in, that's meant to brainwash people and social engineer them into behaving in acceptable ways or fulfilling the needs of the ruling elite in general. That's where they glorify violence in, like a John Wick movie, or glorify criminality in the Godfather movies, or glorify ultra mega violence and Boy Kills World, again John Wick and all that kind of stuff, and video games, or they get on so much with showing people in the upper middle class or lower wealthy class and their trials and tribulations, completely glossing over the trials and tribulations of the middle class or lower classes as being even, meaningful or worthy of anybody paying attention to them. And so it's like an endless stream of upper middle class, upper class, first world problems and all kind of stupid stuff, to the point where it's actually training us to being mindless, obedient zombies, and or just playing a role in advancing the cause of the upper class in general. And they won't need to do that anymore once we're all dead. It's number 3, pretending that they care about the rest of us. Yeah, that's probably got to be something. But it's not. They can do it in alternative means where they don't necessarily have to even kind of fake it. Where they'll have their proxies, they'll take care of all that for them. Obviously, I've said this before on a number of occasions, where they just pick Bruce Wayne, billionaire, and Tony Stark, billionaire, as human beings, when clearly billionaires are incapable of being human beings. They're going to have that much personal wealth and not be able to share it with somebody or share it with the starving world, to do something to help alleviate some of the need that's caused by their endless gluttony and greed. But they sort of, rather than do anything like that, they have the movie studios that they own depict billionaires as not only just decent human beings, but kind, and magnanimous and self-sacrificing, and giving up their lives or giving up their livelihoods or anything like that, or but all the weaponry that they employ as heroes are created as a function of their being defense contractors. So here they are, even in the midst of trying to portray themselves as human beings, they're all coming from the background of being defense contractors. It's not like they've got Batman, Bruce Wayne, whatever you want to call him, has made all of his money by creating livable, affordable rentals in high density urban environments for people, and really nice utilitarian places where people can live a decent, clean life and not have to break the bank in order to be able to do it. No, they don't show anything of that. Bruce Wayne, all this stuff, all his wonderful ties are stuff that's military industrial surplus. And same with Tony Stark. They're big old defense contractors whose day job is slaughtering children. Number 2 of the top 10 worst things they'll be able to get rid of once the ruling class replaces the human race with robots: religion. Come on. Is it really that difficult for you to figure out what they've been doing to us with religion? I mean, the very first thing that's in the Bible says that thou shalt not think. The one, this not even just the source of bad things in the world, but the ultimate source of all sin and suffering is the tree of knowledge and the frickin' apple. Not a coincidence, okay? All by design. All trying their best to warn you, to shoo you off from paying attention to the world around you, getting educated, and trying to operate on the same level that our overlords are operating at. Enough's enough, And they won't need it anymore. Once they are, I swear to God, that none of these religions are going to continue on for one single minute after they get rid of all the humans. The billionaires, and the political leaders who are going to be, on the ark, are going to be all like safe and sound, but you'll never hear another whisper about, abortion, killing the life of the fetus, or any of that stuff, man. It's all a means to an end for them. They don't believe in any of it. Number 1 of the top 10 worst things they'll be able to get rid of once the ruling class replaces the human race with robots is Paul Simon. Yes. Get rid of that guy. Oh, hate him. Hate him. Paul Simon. He's the guy who crossed the picket lines for, to create his Graceland album, and worked with South African musicians, and co-opted their music. They kicked him to the curb after he had the big Graceland rebound in his career after the miserable failing of One Trick Pony with the movie and the soundtrack. And then he goes on to, after he kicks them to the curb, he goes in South America and does the same goddamn thing with South American musicians. And, in between everything is just, so much putrescence and unlistenable word salads and garbage and everything like that. Just get rid of Paul Simon. Please. Do we have to wait until the AI robots are fully in place? Can't we just get rid of Paul Simon now? I don't even mean kill him necessarily. Just put him into an isolation tank and conveniently forget that he's in there. And he's like going, hello? Julio in the schoolyard, are you anywhere here? Hello? And just have him be in somebody's basement or something like that. And that's it, you don't get him in time, you don't get to him in time. He can drink some of that flotation tank water. That'll keep him alive for an extra couple of days probably. Even though it's pretty salty, probably, well, who cares? It's Paul Simon, right? Oh, that's all time we got for the edition of the... Ooh. Yeah, and so I invite you to come back next time. We've got... so exciting. Next time on Top 10 Worst of List, it's Top 10 Worst Times to Admit You Helped Create and Distribute the AIDS Virus for the Government. And the cracks cocaine. So you don't want to miss a minute of that. That's going to be something special. But thanks for tuning in today and being a part of today's Wonders episode. Remember, everything that I've said here is just opinions. Look at me. Does it look like you really, honestly, trust the opinion of somebody who looks like me? I think not. So, that's cool. You're super cool. I'm super nobody. I'm totally a washed out nobody has been.